we said that the expectations we have for Orlando Pirates to at least get out of the group stages, get to the quarterfinals. They got there and got beyond that stage, but the nature of how they were knocked out in that second leg, right? Does it leave an overarching sense of disappointment, or are we proud of Orlando Pirates for making it to the semifinals of the Champions League this season?
And I think that's why Jose Rivera, when he's answering those questions from the press, he does portray both emotions, right? There's pride and there's also a sadness or disappointment in terms of how the game petered out, or how it played out, rather, I think, is more accurate. Because, Jay, we did have our predictions, and for them to have gotten to the semis is great. It's more than what we would have expected, because we thought to ourselves, they're going to go for the league, they're going for the Nedbank, there's the M108, there's the Carling Cup, and all these things, and the fixture congestion as well. You think to yourself, if you're going to prioritize, if you're going to do well in the league, do well in the CAF Champions League, and to get to the semis is no small feat. It's great to have gotten there. But going to the second leg, Jay, when we've got no goals considered at home because that was 0-0, you go away where you've got the benefit of having away goals, and you score one of those goals and you're in a good position. Then you concede quickly after that and you score another one. You're like, okay, we're cruising. And you score and you concede another one and it's 2-2, but you're still going through to the final to concede in a third goal, all goals coming through in the same manner. That's the cross coming into the box and balls not dealt with. That is disappointing, Jay. Happy to be there, but when you look at the actual performance, it's worse than Bafana. Where you think about it, you're like, Amdao, had you scored against Nigeria, we go to the finals. We played better than Nigeria. We should have gotten to the final. This one, we scored goals away. But our defense was bad. The entirety of the game, Jay. I was watching that game with my pops before he fell asleep. And I said, it looks like to me, Pirates are going to need a third goal because those crosses kept coming in and we weren't dealing with those balls very well. When we did have possession, I think the guys were tired. Eventually, I think the toll of the whole season caught up with them in that second leg because when they had the ball at feet, they weren't necessarily smart with it. And so it was back to the wall. And I think also, it's a time, Jay, to say, where is Saleng? I'm just thinking about Saleng. And yeah, no one man just changes the complexion of an entire game, right? But I think about it this way. No, if you don't use a Mawasa or you don't use a Mahopa, you've got a Saleng up front who'll help with defensive work because he's always got energy the entirety of the game, number one. Number two, he's a very good outlet because he's so speedy. But because we had to have one of those guys, you think to yourself, maybe our shape or our pattern of play in the end of that game would have been better. But it does not negate the fact that defensively we're so poor. And so, Jay, it's more disappointment than anything because we were there. We were there within arm's reach. I struggle to see, and we'll talk about Sundowns and Al Ahly in terms of who's disappointed more. Is it Al Ahly who conceded late, or is it Paris who were always in the lead and who just had to keep out the same threat out over and over again because it was cross after cross? So at some point you learn the pattern and you keep it out. But for 3 times in the game, we didn't learn. So Jay, disappointment. I'm proud, but disappointment is the overriding emotion.
From that game, it is disappointing, right? Because you absolutely should not score 2 goals in a competition where the away goal rule is still in play and favors you, and you lose. Because and this was the conversation, right? At the end of that match, why are Pirates still so open? Pirates were playing with a back 5, but not really. So often you saw Makola step into that defensive line because Hotto is gone. He's still ahead. I mean, there was an instance in that match towards the end of the first half where it's 2 defenders from Orlando Pirates who are left tracking back. And I'm thinking to myself, you already have the lead. So the same thing you saw Al Ahly do once they scored their goal. That's exactly what Orlando Pirates should have done. You should lock. Like it's not about how you play at that point. It's about getting the result. And that was naive. It was disappointing to see. Even the defensive shape of Orlando Pirates wasn't what it was supposed to be when they were behind the ball. It was disjointed, and there were gaps in that defensive structure. The defense as well, disappointing. I mean, time and again, crosses into the box and you cannot deal with them. And in one instance, the Mayela goal, yes. The Mayela goal where he's one man and there are 4 defenders around him and he still gets to the ball first. What are you doing? That is disappointing. Also disappointing was the reaction of the coach. Towards the end of the game, I get it, right? Orlando Pirates could not play out from the back. They could not keep the ball. They could not keep possession whatsoever. because Pyramids had pushed up their defensive line and they were squeezing Pirates in their own half, right?
Yeah.
And yes, you need someone to put their foot on the ball to alleviate that pressure. But you don't bring on Utito and Ukabelo Dlamini both in that situation. One of them is fine because you are trying to regain some control. But ultimately, what you're trying to do at that stage of the game is you are trying to hold out. You need to be in the low block and you need to just be clearing the balls. You need to keep the team out. Again, as I'm saying, 2 away goals, you were in the lead on both occasions, and then very quickly the concentration is not what it's supposed to be, and you're conceding, and you're conceding the same way. It crosses into the box, So how that game went, Chuck, both from the players and the coach, a low point in the season is disappointing. But overall, for me, it is something I think Pirates fans and Orlando Pirates, the team, the organization, should be proud. Because they did come out of nowhere to get into a group with Al Ahly, to top that group and win in Cairo as well, and then get to the semifinal stage. And when you even think about the second leg against Pyramids in Cairo, the 2 goals are scored by 2 20-year-olds. And this is what encompasses the season for Orlando Pirates for me, because Nda has been out for a majority of the season. And then while you're looking at that, Sasani, who then steps up in the absence of Nda, which I was asking the question, is Sasani there good? Because I've been on this platform to say that anyone who plays next to Nda tends to look good because of what the Nigerian does and who he is in terms of his stature, right, in that Orlando Pirates back line. But Sasani proved himself that, in and of himself, of his own merit, he's a good defender. And he had elevated himself to being the second best centre-back at Orlando Pirates. And then he goes down with injury. And now you're roping in a 19-year-old Inumbogas. And for the season, you think Unkota has scored, I believe he scored 4, if not 5 goals in the Champions League. You've got Urelo, who scored 5 goals in the Champions League and has almost as many assists. And it's a 19-year-old, it's 2 20-year-olds, and to be able to have the season where Pirates have been competing on all fronts, having won the MTN8 already in the final of the Nedbank Cup, and still chasing Sundowns in the league, and then getting to the semifinals, whereas they hadn't been back in the group stages for as long as they've been absent. I think when you take a step back, for me, when I look at the season that they've had, the campaign they've had in the Champions League, it's one that you should take pride in.